All right, let's stay with this particular story now and speak to Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda, who joins us in studio now. Mayor, thank you so much for coming in. Let's start with, just there, because I was reading your speech and listening to you earlier on. The story you tell is of a city that you say is resilient and has gone through a myriad of challenges, and also listening to, what you're talking about around the billing and people paying their bills on time. It tells a story also of residents who are buckling under the pressure, especially of the rising cost of living. Let's just start first with that lived reality for many in the city of Joburg.
We have an appreciation as the city of Johannesburg on the part of the strain that our residents are undergoing. However, when I make reference to residents and ratepayers, I'm not necessarily speaking to individual households. I'm including commercial businesses as well, because in the main, it's the big companies that would ordinarily not pay their rates, not pay their water and electricity bills, and at the end of the day, take the city to court at a time when they are supposed to pay as a measure to buy more time. Now that puts the city under enormous financial strain.
Do you find that it's because they simply do not want to pay, they've got the means, or is there something else at play here? Are they taking possibly the city for granted? What's going on?
I think it's a combination of both. Firstly, it's understandable why some of our residents have a bit of a concern in relation to the city's stability first. Secondly, the disruption in service delivery that has occurred over the past couple of years hasn't instilled enough confidence in our residents to pay for their municipal bills. Now, if you take a look at our 2023-2024 reviewed IDP plan, it's called the People's Plan. And the reason for that is to engage ratepayers. And we've structured it in a manner where we have targeted stakeholders, where we can engage and give them a view of how the city operates and what is their responsibility and expectation on the part of the municipality, so that not only they get their services, but the city in its entirety is restored.
At the same time, you talk about something that has been talked about for, a long time now, during different officials that we would be speaking to. That's rapid urbanization and the pressure that it puts on infrastructure, the pressure that it puts on service delivery. How then do you plan on ensuring that you do address that particular issue? Because one doesn't see it getting better, because a lot of people still come to Johannesburg in search of better opportunities.
Of course. Well, it speaks to, firstly, the investment that is required into infrastructure that would enable us to accommodate. But also, it requires property developers to be honest with the city in terms of their approvals. There's a department in development planning that I'm paying close attention to as to how some of these building plans get approved. Many areas are only zoned for residential purposes. 2 years later, they are either student accommodation or they are social housing accommodation. Now what that does, it means that the city is cheated of its revenue on the part of the services that they need to be paid. And the city will then have a problem with maintaining the infrastructure and its integrity, because it wasn't intended for the purpose of that many people. So it's an engagement, it's a continuous interaction, and the MMC of development planning has taken up that responsibility to ensure that we bring the stakeholders onto the table and we engage with them robustly on such issues.
Mayor, I can't let you go without asking you this. I mean, you're tabling your State of the City address after we saw what happened yesterday on the M1 motorway. Firstly, what's the latest there, and what were you told happened?
So there was an attempt of cable theft. What happened is they did not anticipate that the type of cables that they wanted to steal carried so much current of electricity. And fortunately, there were no fatalities. But it then escalated into a fire, but the fire was limited to the tunnel. And it created a lot of smoke that then caused our EMS and JMPD to redirect traffic on the basis of visibility. What then our EMS department and disaster management did was to attend to distinguish the fire and to ensure that it is safe for City Power to be able to conduct their assessments of the level of damage that had occurred to the infrastructure that is at the bridge. But the integrity of the bridge itself is still intact.
So now, I'm actually borrowing from a statement that was released by City Power. They say that their security team had to exchange fire with criminals who are living in a makeshift squatter camp under the M1 along Carr Street after they were found busy attempting to steal the cable that got burnt during the fire. Now, this also signals to the bigger problem that, you know, is faced by the country, but also the city as well. I'm sure you've seen instances of vandalism, cable theft, and all of that. That is a huge problem. And I wonder, what does the city then do to begin to deal with this? Because at some point there was talk of a syndicate that, you know, some are saying is operating.
So I think firstly, lawlessness is a process that occurs over time. We need to have an appreciation of the neglect that has existed in the part of our law enforcement, enough for it to get to a point where it is. Secondly, our JMPD has for the longest of time been without adequate tools of trade, meaning that the syndicates have high caliber weapons and JMPD are limited to, let's say, pistols. And in certain instances, they don't even have bulletproof armor. Hence the reason why last year we decided to relaunch the tactical unit within JMPD so that we can use the available resources to equip them with also high-powered vehicles so that they can be able to tackle this issue. But going into the next financial year, we are going to invest intensely in the guns and the ammunition and the bulletproof and the high-powered vehicles that is required for us to combat crime head-on.
Okay, Mayor, we'll then continue to monitor that strategy, but also thank you for talking to us about some of the plans that you're putting together for the city as well. That is Kabelo Gwamanda, Johannesburg Mayor.